All right, now, everybody, quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind. You're going to dance until your feet fall off. You're not able to stand up any longer. But we're going to have a show.
Welcome to the Pink Door Podcast. Imagine putting your house on the market during like the hottest real estate frenzy of the decade.
Oh man, the dream. Right.
Right. You totally expect an immediate bidding war, multiple offers way over your asking price, and, a super quick closing.
Yeah, you're basically waiting for the Brinks truck to back up to the driveway.
Exactly. But instead you hear absolutely nothing. Just crickets.
Oof. That's a tough spot to be in.
It is. Weeks go by, and you are eventually forced to slash your price by over $140,000 just to get someone to, walk through the front door.
Which is just a massive pill to swallow.
Huge. And the crazy thing is, for 13 different sellers in Duxbury last month, that wasn't some hypothetical nightmare. That was reality.
Yeah, and that reality completely shatters the narrative that we hear on the national news every single night.
It really does.
Because, the macroeconomic headlines, they treat the housing market like this big monolith, right? It's either booming everywhere all at once or it's crashing everywhere.
Right, there's no nuance.
Exactly. But real estate does not operate on a national level. It just doesn't. It operates on a hyper-local level down to the specific street and, the exact zip code.
Which is actually the entire mission of today's deep dive.
Yeah.
You're cutting through all that sweeping national noise to look at what is actually happening on the ground in May 2026 for Duxbury, Massachusetts.
Yes, specifically zip code 02332.
Yep. And we're pulling this directly from hard, localized data. We're utilizing the latest RPR Market Trends report alongside the MLS-PIN market surveys for that specific area.
And by analyzing this specific cross-section of data, we can really uncover the underlying mechanisms that are driving buyer and seller behavior right now.
So if you are a prospective buyer feeling the intense pressure of making an offer,
or a seller trying to calibrate your listing price,
or even just a local resident tracking your primary asset's value, understanding this gap between the headlines and the hard data is absolutely crucial.
it really is. You can't navigate the market blindly right now.
So let's start by establishing the baseline temperature of the Duxbury market in May 2026, because the numbers indicate an incredibly high-pressure environment.
Oh, it's intense.
Yeah, we are officially in what the data classifies as a seller's market, with only 2.17 months of inventory available.
Wow.
Right. And that actually represents a 29% drop from this exact time last year.
So to really understand the weight of that 2.17 number, we need to kind of unpack the metric itself.
Yeah, let's break that down for the listener.
So months of inventory is a calculation of the absorption rate. It basically asks, if not a single new home was listed for sale starting today, how long would it take for the current pool of buyers to purchase every remaining home on the market?
Just buy up everything that's left.
Right, and a balanced market one where neither the buyer nor the seller has a distinct advantage typically sits around 4 to 6 months of inventory.
Okay, so 4 to 6 is normal.
Okay.
And we're at 2.17.
Yeah, at 2.17 months, supply is essentially running on fumes.
It's just bone dry.
Completely. Sellers have incredible leverage here because buyers have almost zero alternatives.
And that lack of alternatives is drastically compressing the timeline. According to the RPR report, properties are moving with a median of just 10 days on the market.
10 days! That's just wild.
It's a 66% speed up compared to just the previous month.
66% acceleration in 1 month is, that's significant.
It changes everything.
It does. It changes the entire psychological landscape for a buyer.
Honestly, it feels like a high-speed game of musical chairs.
Oh, totally.
Like the music only plays for 10 days, but the chairs cost $1 million each.
That's a great way to put it.
And think about it, a 10-day median basically means a property hits the MLS on a Thursday, hosts an open house over the weekend, takes offers by Tuesday.
And is officially under agreement by the following weekend.
Right. So with homes moving that fast, I have to wonder, with homes going under agreement in just 10 days, are buyers even having time to breathe? Or is this just pure frenzy driving these 100% list price offers?
Well, it's easy to look at a 10-day timeline and assume buyers are just acting recklessly, out of sheer panic.
Right, like they're just throwing money around.
But the 100.1% sold-to-list ratio actually suggests the opposite.
Wait, really? How so?
It indicates that buyers are highly educated and they're coming to the table heavily prepared.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're working with aggressive buyer's agents. They're running comparative market analyses or CMAs before the open house even begins.
So they already know the value before they walk through the door.
Exactly. They understand the absorption rate is 2.17 months. They know that if they try to negotiate down or, sleep on the decision,
They'll lose the property.
they will absolutely lose it. So rather than testing the waters, they are deploying a strategy of writing extremely clean, aggressive, full price or better offers right out of the gate to preempt a drawn-out bidding war.
Okay, that makes total sense. They aren't panicking. They're executing a very deliberate strategy dictated by the constrained supply. So if buyers are throwing over $1 million at anything that hits the market within 10 days, sellers must be holding a golden ticket.
You would think so, yeah.
I mean, a seller looking at this data would naturally assume they can ask for the absolute ceiling. But wait, if buyers are throwing, what, $1.09 million at homes in 10 days, why wouldn't a seller just shoot for $2 million?
Well,
Like, what's the actual harm in trying other than the house sitting on the market for a few extra days?
see, that is the most dangerous assumption a seller can make in a constrained market.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. And it brings us to the core disconnect in the May data. We can call it the ambition penalty.
The ambition penalty. I like that.
Yeah. The harm in trying to shoot for the moon is that days on market, often abbreviated as DOM function, like a glaring spotlight on a property.
Okay, spotlight.
Right. In a market where the median DOM is 10 days, a house that sits for 30 or 45 days develops a profound psychological stigma.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Buyers look at the listing and immediately think, if everyone else is buying houses in a week, what is structurally wrong with this one that nobody wants it?
Wow. And the data from the end of May illustrates that penalty perfectly. The survey shows there were 8 active listings just sitting on the market, completely missing the 10-day party.
And look at the prices of those listings.
Yeah. The average price of those 8 stranded properties was an astronomical $2.4 million.
$2.4 million, while the rest of the market is moving.
Right. Meanwhile, the median list price for the homes that were newly pending, meaning buyers, were actively signing contracts and putting them under agreement in May, was hovering right around $1.025 million.
And that gap right there between 1.025 million and 2.4 million, that is the literal divide between reality and ambition.
Yeah, that's a huge gap.
Sellers read the national headlines, they see their local median price jump 16% in a single month, and they severely overestimate the elasticity of buyer budget.
They think buyers have unlimited cash.
Exactly. But the data reveals a very strict sweet spot of demand. The localized active buyer pool in Duxbury is well qualified and eager to absorb inventory in the $1 million to $1.3 million range.
Okay.
But once you bypass that tier without the property strictly warranting it, the buyer pool just evaporates.
Which leads to the price slashes.
Yes, the inevitable price slashes.
Because the May reality check for those ambitious sellers was severe. 11 listings had to drop their prices.
11 in a market this hot.
Yeah. There were 13 price changes in total throughout the month. And get this, the average price drop was negative $141,818.
Which is staggering.
It's a 7.6% reduction. So the harm of overpricing isn't just a longer wait, it is a permanent loss of negotiating leverage.
Permanent, yes.
Once a seller drops their price by 6 figures, the blood is in the water. Buyers aren't going to offer the new asking price. They're going to look for a deal.
Precisely. A hot market does not equate to buyers writing blank checks. Buyers have limits anchored by interest rates and mortgage qualifications.
Right, they can't just magically afford more.
No, they can't. When an overly ambitious seller prices a $1.5 million home at $2 million, the buyers who can actually afford $1.5 million don't even bother looking at it.
Because it's out of their price filter online anyway.
Exactly. And the buyers who can afford $2 million recognize it isn't worth their money. So the home just sits.
The days on market ticks up.
Yep, the stigma attaches, and the seller is forced into that painful $140,000 ambition penalty just to re-engage the market.
Ouch. To really understand how difficult it is to avoid that penalty, though, we need to look at the actual homes that closed in Duxbury in May 2026.
Yeah, we have to look past the median.
Because analyzing the median price only gets us so far. Duxbury is not some homogeneous cookie-cutter subdivision where every house was built in the same decade with one of 3 floor plans.
No, not at all.
The actual sales data from May reveals a staggering diversity in housing stock. which complicates pricing immensely.
It makes it incredibly difficult.
Take the oceanfront compound at 71 Gurnett Road, for example.
Oh, yeah. That specific property provides a masterclass in the limits of aspirational pricing.
It really does. It sold for $5.46 million, but it originally hit the market at $6.75 million and sat for 221 days.
221 days.
It's a massive coastal property, too.
Mm-hmm.
5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, panoramic views of Cape Cod Bay from almost every window, and a detached carriage house.
But the most critical detail in that listing is the seawall.
Right. It features a brand new, fully engineered seawall, and it requires no flood insurance.
And the structural and financial implications of that seawall cannot be overstated for an oceanfront asset.
Because of the erosion, right?
Exactly. Coastal erosion and the skyrocketing premiums for flood insurance are major liabilities that can destroy the long-term value of a beachfront home.
Right. It's a huge risk.
But by having a new seawall and zero flood insurance requirements, the carrying costs of that property drop dramatically, making it a highly secure investment.
And yet, even with that massive structural advantage, the sellers miscalculated the ceiling of the market.
They really did.
They had to absorb a price cut of over $1.2 million before finding the true intersection of supply and demand.
Over $1 million in cuts. It's wild.
And then, if we swing to the absolute opposite end of the spectrum from a modern coastal compound, we have the property at 40 Possum Run.
The antique.
Yes. This home sold for $2.05 million. It sits on nearly an acre and offers about 4,000 square feet of living space, but the defining feature is that it was built in 1657.
1657.
It has 5 original fireplaces. It is literally a functioning piece of pre-colonial history.
And pricing a property from 1657 introduces an entirely different set of variables.
I can't even imagine.
You are no longer just pricing the shelter, you are pricing historical provenance.
Right.
Buyers in this segment are paying an emotional premium for original wide plank floors and hand-hewn beams.
But there's a trade-off.
A big one. That premium has to be balanced against the realities of updating 17th century plumbing, electrical, and insulation to modern standards.
Yeah, I bet the heating bills are intense.
Probably. It requires a highly specific buyer who values history over the convenience of modern construction.
Which brings us to the land estate at 676 Franklin Street.
Ah, yeah, the acreage.
This one closed at $1.295 million. The structure itself is a relatively standard contemporary 4-bedroom home, but the variable here is the lot size.
Right.
It sits on an incredible 40 acres of land.
40 acres in Duxbury.
Yeah. This fundamentally breaks the traditional pricing model.
Mm.
How does a property with 40 acres of land in Duxbury sell for roughly half the price of a 1-acre antique home?
Well, this really highlights the nuances of land use and zoning that raw data often obscures.
Okay, tell me more about that.
40 acres is a massive footprint, obviously. But the value of that land is entirely dependent on its utility.
What you can actually do with it.
Exactly. If a large portion of those 40 acres consists of protected wetlands, conservation overlays, or unbuildable topography, the land cannot be subdivided or developed.
Oh, so you can't just build 10 more houses on it.
Right. Therefore, the market values it as a private wooded buffer rather than a development opportunity.
That makes a lot of sense.
The value does not scale linearly with acreage, it scales with utility.
And that perfectly frames the final notable sale from May, 615 Keene Street.
The new build.
Yep, this is brand new 2026 construction farmhouse. It boasts over 4,200 square feet, 4 bedrooms, and every modern amenity you could ask for.
Very different from the 1657 antique.
Completely. And it sold for $2.29 million after just 49 days on the market.
Wow.
So when you step back and look at these 4 sales happening simultaneously, a 370-year-old antique, a beachfront compound with a multi-million-dollar seawall, a 40-acre wooded estate, and a brand new 2026 construction.
It's just a huge mix.
It really is. It blows my mind that in a single month, in one town, you can buy all these completely different types of properties.
Yeah, the variety is incredible.
And it raises a critical question about modern real estate technology. How can a typical real estate algorithm possibly accurately price a neighborhood with this much structural, historical, and topographical variety?
The short answer is that it cannot.
Not at all.
No. Automated valuation models, or AVMs, which power the popular online estimates you see on real estate portals, they operate on an assumption of homogeneity.
They assume everything is the same.
Exactly. They scrape public tax records and recent sales data to calculate an average price per square foot for a given zip code.
Okay.
They then just multiply that average by the square footage of your home to generate an estimate.
Which means the algorithm is literally taking the price per square foot of the 1657 Colonial and averaging it against the 2026 new build.
Exactly. It's apples and oranges. The algorithm lacks the capacity to assign value to unquantifiable variables.
Right.
An AVM does not know what a newly engineered seawall costs. It does not understand the restrictive covenants on a 40-acre wetland parcel.
It definitely doesn't know about the wetlands.
No. And it cannot calculate the emotional premium a buyer will pay for a fireplace built before the American Revolution.
So it's just guessing, basically.
When an AVM looks at Duxbury, it just sees a jumble of wildly divergent data points, resulting in estimates that are fundamentally flawed.
And this circles us back to the ambition penalty and the $140,000 price cuts we saw in May.
Yes, it all connects.
If a seller relies on an algorithm that incorrectly overvalues their home based on, say, a neighbor's oceanfront sale.
They're walking straight into a trap.
Exactly. They list high, the house sits, the 10-day median window slams shut, and they lose their negotiating power.
It underscores why interpreting hyperlocal data requires human context.
You really need it.
You need a professional who understands the micromarket to interpret why the modern farmhouse on Keene Street commands $2.2 million, while the 40 acres on Franklin Street taps out at $1.29 million.
Because the nuance is the difference between a successful transaction and a stalled listing. You cannot simply take a macroeconomic headline like it's a seller's market and blindly apply it to a unique property, expecting buyers to abandon their financial discipline.
Because as we've seen, they won't.
No, the buyers are educated, the inventory is constrained, and the penalties for miscalculating are incredibly steep.
Yeah, that leaves us with a critical thought to ponder for anyone listening right now.
What's that?
Think about your own home and how you perceive its value.
Okay.
Are you basing your expectations on sweeping national headlines and automated online estimates that just, multiply your square footage by a zip code average?
Right.
Or are you evaluating it based on its unique place within its specific micro market, accounting for its history, its topography, and the strict realities of current buyer demand?
That's a huge distinction.
It is. Because the May 2026 data for Duxbury clearly demonstrates that while the market is undeniably hot, pricing a home correctly requires a surgical touch, not a sledgehammer.
I love that. The sledgehammer gets you the $140,000 ambition penalty.
Yep,
The scalpel gets you the 10-day full price sale.
exactly.
If you have any questions about this episode, or if you are thinking about buying or selling a house anywhere on Boston's South Shore from Southie to Sagamore, give Jim Aldred a call. He would love to speak with you. Jim believes that people in transition often feel anxious about buying or selling a home, and he provides them with the guidance and security to help your family move on smoothly. Thanks for listening, and catch you on the next episode of the Pink Door Podcast.